Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliette Clark, and we're going to get right into this in a minute. Today is another one of our trainings. This one is a media training with Jacquie Jordan. If you would like to see her slides as she goes through this presentation, I invite you to go over to our YouTube channel, Superbrand Publishing, and watch over there. Otherwise, stay tuned. Welcome, everybody. Today's talk is you're going to get a media training. And from one of the best media trainers out there. I'll introduce her in a moment. But before we get started, instead of me doing a spiel today for Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish, I'm going to let Chris Johnson tell you about 2 workshops she has coming up in August. Yeah.
Yes. Really fun. I wanted to do something really fun for authors in the summer. So 2 workshops. The first one is for nonfiction writers, which is on August 5th. It's all virtual via Zoom. We're going to go dive into how you structure your book and actually get people started with the outline process and how to do it. And when I say that, I don't mean outline the way your English teacher meant it. So let that go. That one's on August 5th. The fiction writers workshop is on August 19th, again, Zoom. And that one is, people really underestimate the power of structuring a story. They want to dive into the characters and dive into the plot, but you have to have the structure in place first. So we're going to establish that. And then once you have that, you can do anything you want and have a lot of fun with your book. So we're going to have a lot of fun, very hands-on, live with me. And we're just going to have fun with it and get everybody going on their projects. So it's crushyourexpertbook.com. And just so you know that we're shifting over to a new CRM right now. So give us a little time to get that all moved over, and then it'll be live probably within a week. So it's crushyourexpertbook.com, and the workshop links are on there. It's only $47. It's no brainer for what you're going to get. So
Cool.
Thanks, Juliette.
I'm very excited too. I'm taking the fiction workshop, even though I've written 6 fiction novels, because I have one in my head. I've had it there for poor Chris has been hearing about this for 2.5, 3 years now, and I haven't gotten off my butt to do it. So I'm doing it with her. So today's guest I'm super excited about is Jacquie Jordan. And Jacquie's the founder and CEO of the 15-year-old cutting-edge media and content development, promotions, and booking platform, TVGuestpert, that offers full-service promotion, marketing, business strategy, and media services for her clients, partners, and collaborators. Sure, I can talk. TVGuestpert Publishing, a New York Times bestseller publishing house, and the Guestpert Academy, an online program offering visibility, media training, and TV Guestpert on-camera training, which she's going to talk about today and make you guys an offer at the end. She is also a 2-time Emmy-nominated TV producer, 3-time author, and host of Front and Center with Jacquie Jordan, a broadcast podcast. So welcome, Jacquie.
You. Thanks so much for the generosity of having me here. It's great to see everybody. Thank you so much. So I'll do a quick share screen because I put together a PowerPoint that we could all just go through together, and hopefully it'll be a good resource for everyone's messaging to impact outside influencers. Yeah. So I think it's getting more difficult and more complicated in a weird way to get our messages out there, whether we're promoting our books or stories or products or companies or businesses ourselves. I find that to be, really challenging, but mostly because I find that most people are just distracted. It's not that they're not interested or not seeking the information. There's so much distraction and noise coming at us. So I've been just paying attention to that as I work with clients and guestperts and authors and trying to navigate them through the clutter, especially business owners, and getting our message out there. So what we do at TVGuestpert is we take business authors, experts, owners, and we work on a media development strategy. We do PR. I say we do PR, public relations, as a tool, but really what I feel distinguishes what we do at TVGuestpert from traditional PR is that we're looking to grow a business based and leverage it based on the opportunities that we create. So it's not just enough to create the opportunity. It's about media training the client and then leveraging the exposure to get the result. And I think that's what makes us different than a typical PR is we're going beyond just creating the opportunity. We're going to say, okay, now how are we going to leverage this? And get the exposure. The left screen here this is psychiatrist Dr. Gayane De Silva. She's been a really great author, expert with us. She started Green and Fresh several years ago. And now she's got a platform where she's actually in demand. She's published 2 books with us. Psychiatrist's Guide is the brand of her books. And she's recently featured on Elizabeth Vargas's I Crime, national shows. And she's in demand for it. And that's what we want to create. But I have to be honest, it took her and us together about 6 years to create that kind of national demand where she now, we don't have to seek publicity for her. It seeks her. And she worked really hard for it. And, as authors here, we know the value of books, and she's got 2 of them. So at TVGuestpert, we feature a variety of different experts in different fields, but because we all know that it's about the content. It's not about the expertise. It's not about the product. It's always about the content. That's the exchange that we work with when we're working with the media. Juliet just did one of our company podcasts recently, and I was so excited to hear, she just basically said exactly what I would have said, but coming from her, it was fantastic, and we really appreciated that. TV on-camera training is a really big part of it. Since COVID, we're now gone online with the Guestpert Academy. So we're just launching our first course, and we broke it down, our visibility training, media and visibility training, which is different than doing just in the on-camera training in-person workshop setting. Because what we're realizing, especially for us Generation X women, business owners, authors, and young baby boomers, is that we are not the millennials. The millennials were born, with the camera prenatal. They're the first generation where they had a selfie in the belly. We didn't come that way. We were the latchkey kids. We were left behind at home. We fended for ourselves. We're very, very resourceful, but we're not necessarily the in front of the camera generation. We're very different that way. We rule the world, but we do it from behind the scenes. And now, because of social media, LinkedIn, and just all of the platforms, we're being forced to come out of the closet to say and be the face of our business and our work. And that's quite different. And not everybody's really comfortable with that. So at the Guestpert Academy, we're taking the process even for our experts, even through the very beginning of the process, just to kind of warm people up to really feel good about doing it. And it's funny because Juliet brought up Tara Reid, one of our authors, company authors. And she's a really great example of someone who's been attacked and trolled, needless to say, right? A really, really good example. Well, not at the Tara Reid level, but, none of us really want to be attacked for putting ourselves out there or trolled. Brene Brown, somebody I talk about in the Guestpert Academy, but she did the big TED talk on vulnerability. And when she did her talk on vulnerability, the trolls came after her for her weight and her look and her age. And, that none of that feels good. So at Guestpert Academy, we kind of even start there with our visibility and media training, warming us up to remembering why we're putting ourselves out there and it not just being about being seen. And I have to even be honest, for as much as I'm out there myself, I'm never really personally comfortable with it. I've done it as a means to an end, and I've desensitized myself towards it. But ultimately, I still have to take a deep breath. Even when I send the company newsletter out, I'm like, because, we get all sorts of feed. When you have big mailing lists, you've got big audiences, you're going to get flack. It just is the nature of it. When you're on YouTube, I think someone told me on our TV Guestpert Instagram this week, I was told I was a narcissist and that I had I was as fake as the Botox in my face. So anyway, that made me kind of laugh. I thought, wow, maybe I'm famous. Like maybe this means I've made it. I've got haters. And so anyway, with our upcoming Guestpert Academy visibility training, we kind of start there because, in this social media world, people have just gotten a little bit more meaner than they allowed to. So that's what we're doing at Guestpert Academy with our program, Reality Bites, Bite Back. Again, it's specifically more geared towards Generation X women like us, or young baby boomers, like not the older baby boomers, the on the cusp to the Gen X group, because, we've come in, we're kind of forced to be coming out from behind the scenes, behind the curtain at midlife. It's kind of a weird place to have to do it. And the vulnerability, but yet at the same time, we have so much hard-earned wisdom. Like we can't be hiding behind the scenes anymore because we have the wisdom. The younger generation doesn't. They have, they are trigger happy with their thumbs. They have the confidence, but they don't have the wisdom. The confidence without the wisdom can be dangerous. So we have an important role to play right now in visibility. And so I'm a big advocate of it. And Juliet's been a big advocate of me being a big advocate of it. And I really appreciate that. And then, of course, our TV Guestpert publishing company is Write Your Legacy. Our TV Guestpert publishing books. And, Juliet and I both are extraordinarily passionate about the books that we get to put out for people and to do it. So there's several misconceptions about media. Juliet just talked about it in our podcast. And, one of them, of course, is you publish a book and then you want to start the publicity. It's one of my favorite misconceptions. You want to start the publicity long before you even finish writing the book, in my opinion. It's like, why throw a party and a parade for a party and then not invite the guests? That's kind of what you do when you publish a book and then start the publicity. The other thing about starting publicity ahead of the time or while you're still crafting the book is that you actually get real-time collective feedback about what the book is or needs to be so that you can still kind of pivot it. Because a lot of times we create in a vacuum. We get downloaded an idea, we go to work by ourselves, but we don't really kind of test it. And the problem with that is, especially if we're being downloaded from the zeitgeist, it often means that a lot of times other people are getting the same information too. And the problem is with that is not the first who gets it out there wins. The first with the biggest muscle who gets it out there wins. And a lot of times that's not us. So by promoting yourself ahead of time and getting your publicity and your message out there early while you're still in the creative process, you can start to create the hooks and the framing that you might not have considered when you were initially doing your work. So that's why the next slide is about developing your hook. So much about what we do is, as I say to a lot of my guestperts, is not about you. I know it looks like it's about you, but it is not about you. So here's an example, and I'm just going to be so candid because this is Juliet's podcast here. We have a really fabulous guestpert, and he has an app that is really clever, and it's called Hoover. And it's you can basically travel the world through his app, like in real time, go for a walk with someone in a different part of the world. And right now he's promoting Africa, which we know a lot of us don't know a lot about. So his app is really great. Now, apps are very difficult to promote. They're just difficult to promote. Books are easier than apps. You don't see a lot of people promoting apps on TV, or in the media. So I have to pay attention to him and listen to what his story is. And the story is he's a veteran. His story is that the app is, helps connect people in different parts of the world to each other. It's kind of like Uber, but it's on foot. You can go for a walk with someone in a different part of the world. So we had to develop a hook that was worthwhile. And so we're doing military packages, because Hoover branded military packages that go out to veterans. And so that's how we developed a hook to promote his app, that really wasn't about the app. And we're always backing into stories and developing the hook. So what I mean by that is that the media is kind of on target with their own agenda for what they're going to tell. I call us narrative busters. But in order to bust the narrative, we have to back into it. We have to reverse engineer our content. So developing your hook is one of the best skills, masteries to do it. And again, this is why publicity ahead of time matters in terms of promoting your book, because the hook will change. It will change 1,000 times. One of my classic stories, I'll just say, it's on our YouTube, TVGuestpert YouTube channel. But when I was promoting my book, Get on TV, it's a book called Get on TV. No producer is going to put me on TV to tell you about a book that's about getting on TV. So I did a national tour about eating chocolate. Swear to goodness, I'm not a chef, I'm not a nutritionist. I talked about the value of eating raw cacao and losing weight. It landed me on the cover of Women's World, and I had a national book tour for my book, Get on TV. So it's not about what it's about. It's about developing your hook. So just a little tip there. And we go into this deeper in the Guestpert Academy. Tips like this are also on our YouTube fact channel, and it's also our Get on TV books. So here's a couple hooks to consider that will help you. Prompts for your hooks. Timeliness is always a hook. What is the time period? And we're going to go into the equinox. We're going into college graduation. We're going into high school graduation. So that's the timeliness that we're looking at right now. But we're probably going more into 4th of July in terms of timelines of bookings. But anniversaries, current events, historical significance, cultural significance, holiday season, summer, everything's summer right now. The beginning of the summer travel, summer clothes, summer vacation, summer activities, anything pre-summer right now is going to be part of the conversation here. We're looking at a clip here of one of our nutritionists, registered dietitian, and physical therapist, Karen Owalk, and she did healthy and frightening Halloween foods was the hook that she used to promote timeliness. And so that's kind of the way TVGuestpert approaches content. Another hook is a study or a statistic. And this is our financial guy. But what's interesting here about Daniel is that he's not your traditional financial guy. He's a crypto. He's a day trader. He's a day trader. So those are actually harder to book because it's an expertise that's not highly, the credentials not recognized in a lot of media. So we used statistics in order to get him booked. So the latest job reports show employment bounces back. And the reason this hook made him viable because he was able to speak about his, day trading is basically an alternative job within the financial industry. So that framing of his expertise allowed us at this point to use this news hook to get him booked for television. He's in a hotel room because he's in vacation in like Amsterdam at the time we got this news booking for him. But that's an example of a news statistic or hook. Celebrityism, anything to do with celebrities. I myself get booked all the time on from CNN International to Newsmax to Cheddar Television, all about dead celebrities. I get the go-to calls on dead celebrities. I've done everything from Prince to Regis Philbin to Queen Elizabeth to Ivana Trump, God rest all their souls. But when it comes to tributes of dead people, I get the celebrity invitation for that. And usually I have a personal story, having known or crossed paths in one way or another. For example, with Betty White, I got to know her. Well, she was on the Donnie and Marie show, but I got to know her because I would pass her in the vet at the veterinarian with her dog. I was there with my dog, and she had her I think it was a golden retriever and I had a quirky dog, and we got it to chit chatting. So I have these little stories that work in my bookings, but a celebrity, we do the same for our clients with the news hooks. And here we have attorney Alexis Rosenberg, and she's talking about the Johnny Depp defamation case live on Court TV. And because she does insurance law, insurance company sues her over Depp suits. So, it was a perfect match for her type of expertise. So we're still talking about news hooks here. And one of the most popular news hooks, but not recognized news hooks by experts themselves or authors, is their personal story. Most people end up going into their field or vocation actually because of a personal story. And this is expert Jeanette Yoff. And she was a foster child, and she is a therapist who works with adoption, children of adoption, adults with adoption, and foster children. And so she did a booking with her on a national lifestyle magazine show where she actually told her personal story as a lead into her expertise. So your personal story is part of your personal story is part of your expertise, and it's also part of your news hook.
So why the dead celebrities? Like,
how did that come up? I know
that just sounds so morbid. Like, I can see you, the guy from the Doors walks away, and Jackie knows where he's at.
I've done Marilyn Monroe. I lived down the street from her old house. I used to bike ride past it. I've done Dick Clark. I used to work for him. What a legacy Dick Clark left behind. I did. Who's the millionaire guy who came to your door with the sweepstakes? The sweepstakes guy.
Publishers Clearinghouse, the gray guy.
Yes, yeah. I did his tribute. I worked with his daughter for a brief time.
Ed McMahon.
Yeah. Ed McMahon. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how I've been doing it for a long time, racking up the dead celebs. It's a funny thing to put in my resume, but.
There you go. You need to write a book about it. No.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, exactly.
The dead celeb whisperer.
Yeah. I seem to have something to say about everybody. I believe it or not, I did not get a call about Tina Turner though. But I did get a call about Lisa Marie Presley. So quite fun, interesting. So about building a platform. So one of the reasons we create products is we're building a platform. And building a platform for me and my clients in the advocacy is about building credibility. And that's why I'm a really big believer about books. I know that people will challenge us and say that people are not reading books. That people are only going into short form content. And that might be true for younger generations, but for people like us and experts and professionals like us, it is very, very important for us to memorialize our stories. It is important for us to memorialize our expertise. It's important for us to memorialize our legacy, our lifetime of experience. So I'm a real big believer of it. And then, of course, you can take the long form content and then short form it out on social media. But what we have earned, nobody else has. And we owe it to ourselves and to our communities to put our legacy into book form. And it does build credibility. In terms of media, we've all seen it. People go out there, they promote a book. The problem with books is that, and Juliet can probably attest to this too, is books, they sell, but they aren't going to change your life. As I say to everybody, you don't wake up the next day after you've published a book and you're a different person and living a different life. And I have had clients literally go through the book process expecting that. Now, 20 years ago, I could actually say, and I've been part of it, it's happened. You go to bed one day and you wake up the next day and the book has changed your life. It's not like that. However, I would say that all my authors end up living a different life within a year from the time they've published a book. So who touches that book, who gets that book, where that book goes, who finds that book are opportunities that otherwise would not exist in your own sphere of influence. It is impossible. There's a way that a book goes out and it's the dissemination or the transmission of your information, but it will create opportunities for you that you otherwise would never, ever have had you not done a book. So a book is a business card. It is a calling card. And when it's approached from that perspective that I'm going to invest this time and money into creating my book, you are committing to changing, to alchemically changing where the point that you're at in this point in time space to another time space based on opportunities and who you will meet. And I have done 3 books myself, and I'm just saying, having been a published author, self-published author, an author with an agent, I've been through every piece of the publishing. Books will change your business. They just do. And they build credibility because no one, as anybody here has worked on books, it's a single focus task. Even in 2023, you don't do other things. You do not multitask when you're writing a book. It is single focused, and it is a complete discipline, and nothing's going to change that. Even Chat GPT isn't exactly going to change that part of what we're bringing to the table with books. And so it does create a credibility, because we all know that anybody who's written a book, especially a published book by a published author, and what that means is the book has been vetted. The difference between a published author, like Juliet's publishing house, like TVGuestpert's publishing house, is the book has been vetted by professionals. Self-publishing runs up against the credibility of not being vetted. And we've all seen that. So building credibility is important.
Yep. Can I ask a question, Jackie? Is that younger generation you're talking about, the millennials? I realize that they don't put the book in their hand like we do as an older generation. Do they tend to listen to the audiobooks more?
Well, that's a great question. I do not want to offend anyone who's a millennial, but I kind of bypass that generation, hop right down to the next generation, because Obi-Wan Kenobi, they're our hope. So I'm kind of, that 20-something generation is a lot more values aligned. And so they are very, this is based on research that I've learned from my own TEDx talk, from other books that I've published from other authors of ours. It's generation Y and Z are a lot more tactile and tangible, and kind of going back to the roots. Millennial went all AI. They went all in AI. And of course, that's part of our fault, because, when they were born, we're like, here's an iPhone. So, that we got the result of that. But yes, audiobooks are popular. Kindles are popular. And, we're getting, our books are ending up in, are going to be in so I don't know if I answered the question, but
no, I was just curious. My daughter's 24 and in management at Whole Foods.
Millennial.
Yeah, and they gave her a book to read, and she said, "I will never read this book." So I downloaded Audible, and voila, it was consumed. So that's why I was curious about it.
Yeah. But she actually did long form, which is great. That's still long form. So however that gets in, I'm all for it. And I love audiobooks. A lot of people are doing audiobooks. This is our CIA, retired policeman operative. And we got this picked up, I think, by Radar Online. You don't think these are significant, but his Radar Online quote got him the Entertainment Tonight television booking by the end of the day. So people don't think that digital media counts for anything, but these are like the direct results of getting your name out there. So the producer saw the Radar Online response. We got the quote out super fast, and that was picked up on Entertainment Tonight. So that's how that translates. And I find that to be awesome. Branding and imaging is very important to me. These are our before and after headshots. I think they speak for themselves. The reason headshots for me are so important is because when we send our pitches in an email, and a thumb is a delete. So we're going to make an impression to a producer or a journalist based on your picture before they ever read anything else. Before they look at the video clips, before they research you, they're going to get hit with the image that we put in. We just do a little tiny thumbnail, and it just that's it. Like, that is the first impression. So I'm a really big believer on spending money with good photographers. Things that we ask for, you can always we'll send a photographer to you that's how passionate I are. We'll send a good photographer to you. But the things, especially for us as mature women, what we're looking for is great lighting and good makeup. And a photographer that understands the craft of lighting, and a makeup artist that understands still photography is important. What we're seeing right now with photography and image development is that a lot of people are relying on Photoshop. to take pictures. And although that's fun, we just saw that with Martha Stewart on the cover of Sports Illustrated. The heck out of me. I was like, are we supposed to be looking at an 81-year-old woman? Listen, I'm all for that, but what we're really looking at, because it's not what I'm seeing. And having been on the cover of Women's World magazine wearing a blue shirt, and then it coming out with me wearing a green shirt, they will change anything. So I'm not a big fan of photography that's just relies on Photoshop. I think that we lose our distinction of appearance in that, and we lose the authenticity of our own expression and that. So I'm really picky about who shoots my women, really picky. And I want to know who you are on the impression that I receive. And when it's highly Photoshopped, I can't read the authenticity of the image. So this is me, and what I'm a big advocate about for us mature women, especially. I don't think anybody should shoot us or can shoot us. When you looking at photographers, you want to see pictures they've shot of women our age, and it doesn't have to be an old-fashioned camera. Maybe they can shoot really great with an iPhone. I don't know, but I'm looking for like great lighting and great expression here, and because your image is where your money is going to come from when you're putting yourself out there. And some of these original images, I'm like, well, I can't do anything for you. So my starting place sometimes in many places is working with someone and getting their image done. So thank you for letting me share that. So here's a little pathway here for what TVGuestpert does and how we approach things. But this is a good friend of mine, an author, Darren Campo. We're co-writing a book together called Artificially Intelligent, Smart AF in an AI World. He's an NYU professor and a former television executive. But here we are. We got him to co-host a TV show called Better Living on NBC. We've done several sci-fi books for him. That's why he's like the appropriate person to write an artificial intelligence books, because I think we've done multiple sci-fi books for him and promoted him. We've also handled the web design of his book, and you just can kind of see the style of the branding through the architecture of his images. And what's really interesting is that when he's been a client of ours and an author of ours for maybe 15, 20 years. When we were promoting his sci-fi book, we started promoting him with that news hook on artificial intelligence before we hit this kind of epic tipping point right now. So he's been an expert in multiple media accounts over artificial intelligence for a long, long time. And that's just what good positioning, good branding, and good news hooks will do to give you a platform and credibility. And, and I always say, the longer someone's a client of ours, it goes to show you that what we're doing is working for them. So that's Darren Campo. Moving on to topics here, interview style. So we're going to cover this in Guestpert Academy. So we should definitely sign up for it, but we should know the difference of different types of interview styles for media. Of course, we're getting really accustomed to the Zoom, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But when you're on set in studio, the traditional interview style is a sit-down interview style. And it's called traditional live or live to tape. And here's Christy Whitman on the Hallmark Channel. She's done the Today Show. She's our New York Times bestselling author. She's multiple books, and she does a lot of live sit-down interviews. Okay. And then we call this one, the old-fashioned way of saying was electronic news gathering piece. That's the old vernacular. It's also known as a field piece. But the reason you want to know the difference is when they come in and they shoot you. That's me. I haven't gotten an electric bill since the Hurricane Ian, so the local news did a piece, an ENG or a field piece. And that's usually typically what you see on your live, your news shows at night. Other interview styles really important to know is the demo segment, not to be confused with a demo reel. A demo reel is your demonstration reel of all your appearances. A demo segment is a show and tell segment where you set a table and you do your Vanna White all the way across the table. So it's a different kind of cadence, a different kind of style, different kind of methodology for delivering. Go for it.
That is something you definitely need training for, correct? Because there's lighting, your food can melt, it's intense.
Yeah, it is intense. Absolutely. Absolutely. And 4 minutes goes really fast. And usually in a demo segment, you're going to get to an end result. You want to make sure you hit the steps to get to the end result. Fashion segments or demo segments. So it's a very popular. It's the easiest way to get booked because it's the best visual for a network or a show, but it's the hardest to execute if you're not properly trained. And then, of course, the other hard one is a satellite interview, which we're becoming more accustomed to because of Zoom. But a satellite interview, this is me doing CNN, and I'll just describe the situation. I went to, I was actually at the CNN studio, but they have these little tiny rooms, and you sit at a little tiny desk, and they pop a little thing in your ear, so the show's not happening in your space. They pop an IFB in your ear, put a microphone on you, and you have to stare like we do in Zoom. Just stare at the little camera for as long as you can and not blink. And then it's like, go. And with Zoom, we've had to ante up to that level. I do a lot of news television appearances lately, and I do it the same way as I would a satellite interview. Is I put the headphone to my ear. I actually use hardwired headphones because I don't want Bluetooth going out. I don't want interference. I got tiny ears. I don't want the earbud to pop out. So I cover it with my hair. I wire it to my computer, and I stare at my little dot because you cannot be distracted by what's going on the screen. So that's the mastery of a satellite interview. And, I'm aware as we're podcasting, I'm kind of looking back and forth more here, getting your visual feedback than I am staring in that little circle. And that might be distracting to you. Watch me, watch you. And it is distracting, and you definitely don't want to see that on TV. So let's talk about Skype and Zoom here. I like Zoom better than Skype, but a lot of media actually uses Skype over Zoom. So here are my 3 examples. The first one, great lighting, good eye proportion to head placement, fantastic eye to camera contact on the computer, and a fantastic visual background. I am in this podcast because of Juliet. I'm way more intimate in my space than I ever am on a broadcast interview. I don't show markers of where I am, where I live. It's very professional, neutral. I give no clues away. Because this is Juliet's invitation, and I'm, doing this more of the approach of, we're talking amongst a specific community about our business work and our authorship. I'm more casual than I would be.
So when you say that, you're talking about have the green screen behind you, have a good background, that type of thing.
You don't have to have a green screen. I mean, if you actually get that high level, I actually wouldn't even do this. So even go as far as a green screen. But just using Robin's example, it's a colorful background. It's nondescript. She could be at her office. She could be in her conference room. She could be in the second bedroom in her house. That's what I mean, nondescript. We don't know where she really is, but it's easy to look at. The next one, and this is a media psychiatrist, Carol Lieberman, the lighting is poor. The lighting looks suspicious. It makes her look like she's suspicious. And the background is terrible. Like, it's just like the background is terrible. I'm not a fan. If you can't get a good background, don't go in a flat wall, go into a corner. Create your look from a corner. Most television appearances will not do blur outs or virtual backgrounds. So you have to create a set. You have to create your own environment. And at TVGuestpert, of course, at TVGuestpert, we'll tech rehearse you through what, your background. And then the last one, I like that he's in a corner. He's got the right setup, but his angle is off. His computer's off. The height to eye ratio is off. And then his own eye contact is off because his camera may not be, like iPad. I have an iPad that I can't use for television because of where the camera is on the iPad. It throws my eye angle. Like the angle is off. So not all media devices are equal. I use a MacBook Pro Air. The camera is in the right place. I bought a webcam. And when I use the webcam, it throws the eye line off to where it is supposed to be. So eye line is everything. And good background. So my last guest in this montage has the right style of background. Corners are good. Corners give depth, but he's got his cameras off and his eye line is off. And when those things happen, honestly, you lose credibility. It's an impression of credibility that just happens to get lost. I was watching Tara's interview last night with Megyn Kelly, and she looks to the left, she looks to the right. Her eye contact, her inability to hold her eye contact, people may not recognize it, but it subconsciously or non-verbally decreases credibility when you're watching someone and they're doing this. And I am somebody as a speaker who has had to work so hard to train myself, but I would do this eye movement because I would grab my thoughts from the ceiling of my brain and then pull them down and shoot them out my mouth. So when you watch me in the media for a long time, and every once in a while I'll still do it, but I would go like that because I'm grabbing my thought and then I'm pulling it down. I have had to train myself and work so hard to break that habit that I will stare at that dot like my life depends on it. It's also forced me to slow down my words in order to hold that contact. But when I hold that contact to you, you feel connected to it. When I'm doing this or when I'm doing this, it changes the whole entire way that you're relating to what you're watching. So contact is everything. And because we're forced to do it on a Zoom now, that we have never been forced to do it before, it means everything. And even when I'm in my business groups, and it's my time to speak. And like I said, I'm not doing it right now because I am watching your reactions. But when I do my business groups, I am all about the dot. I stare at the dot.
I think the older you are, the more practice it takes too, because we're used to relationship building. I like to see your face. I like to see how you're receiving, but so you really have to practice more as an older generation because we were more relationship based.
We're about
the tech based
expressions. Yeah, we're looking to connect. You're absolutely right. I am telling you, for me, it was one of the hardest things to break was the, looking up, grabbing my thought. I had to really work hard on that. Mean what you say what you mean, but don't say it mean. So one of my stories is I was punked by Sacha Baron Cohen in the movie Bruno. And so Sacha Baron Cohen is, so I was asked to do a media consultation for a German television pilot, and I got vetted for it. And I've done this before, so professionally, it wasn't something that was unique. And I went to the what do we call it? This is midlife here, right? Happening right now in real time. Focus group. I went to the focus group. I showed up at the focus group, and this flamboyant man is trying to get me to drink champagne at 10 in the morning. He's making fun of my clothes, and everything was just off. And I had no idea what was going on. It was very chaotic, and they had asked if they could tape it, which was the wrong vernacular. Or they asked if they could film it, which was the clue that it was the wrong vernacular. Anyway, I woke up in the Truman Show and realized that I was in the middle of a movie scene for Sacha Baron Cohen's movie, Bruno. And I had to ask myself, should I stay or should I go now? And I had already taken the money and I just stuck with my content boundaries, which I go into in the Guestpert Academy in a really big way. I just stuck with my content boundaries and I stayed. And for 2 hours, he just pounded me, trying to break me. It turns out that I was not in the final cut of the movie, but the scene was. They edited me out. They put someone in who had a meltdown, and the actual scene was there, but the cutaway was not me. And so I always tell everybody, if I can handle Sacha Baron Cohen in a movie that I didn't even know I was in, then there's no reason you can't handle everything based on good content preparedness and content boundaries. So how does that look? Well, yeah, but so here's a couple tips for our speaking when we're doing interviews. You don't repeat your own speaking points because you want to make sure you have enough content to fulfill it. Remember to use the camera's anchor's name if on camera. In this conversation, which I consider more informal than a formal interview. But I have referenced Juliet several times as my host to this invitation. The other great line is, I don't know about that, but what I can tell you is, and that's the line that gets you out of thinking that you're supposed to know everything about everything at any time, which is not true. And it happens to me a lot. So I'll go on the news. I'm staring at my little dot and I'm all ready with my headphone in proper position. I got my Zoom and my outfit, my hair and makeup and my lighting, which we'll go into at another time, right? And they go to introduce me. They show a clip and it's not the topic I was booked for. So I'm about 4 seconds away from going on television live on a topic that they're throwing at me in the moment. I roll with it. And when the stump the chump moment comes up, or sometimes it's one of those gotcha moments, I simply say, well, I don't know about that. But what I can tell you, Jim, is as a media consultant who's worked with blah, 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 blah. So that line has saved my butt a million times. Or I'll use a framing of, in my experience, what I know. And when it comes to promoting ourselves, we don't have to promote ourselves. We just incorporate storytelling. So what I learned about while writing my book, Get on TV, or what I learned from writing my book about heartfelt marketing, about people who sabotage themselves right before success is. So that's the line we use where we don't self-promote. However, we just contextualize. Requirements for any media broadcasting is professional hair and makeup. We can send that to your house no matter where you are in the world. We have done it to strangest to places, but we will find a broadcast hair and makeup person. That's how serious I am about it for you. We pay for a video monitoring file. A file is different than the link. And Gen X, we don't know these things. Everybody else does, but we don't. The difference between a video file versus a link is so if you're on the Today Show and the producer sends you the Today Show link, that file lives on the Today Show website. If they change the link because they drop it because they don't need to carry all that data, you lose access permanently to the clip. So what we are providing is a service where we give you the file, you house the data of the file, and then you can put it on your YouTube, Vimeo, and then therefore your website. You put all this energy into creating these opportunities. You want to have the collateral in the end. The collateral in the end is how you leverage. So, and producers producers not connected to the back end of the web process and master control. So it really is on you to make sure that you're getting the files, not just the links of your programs. And there's services for that. So here is my Women's World magazine, and I'm wearing a green shirt. Well, I didn't know they dressed me. And at the time they shot that, I put me a green on grass and a green shirt with green jewelry, but I'm in a green shirt. but they changed it to blue. And anyway, I just say that to show you the level of photoshopping that goes on. But that's my tour for my promoting the book Get on TV. And the other thing I can say about the Get on TV book is that so opening soundbite is your real estate speaking point. So when you do an appearance and you are introduced into a conversation, you always want to contextualize who you are. And in this clip, and this is on the actual clip that I'm speaking about is on our TV Guestpert YouTube channel. But the way my opening speaking point here is because chocolate has nothing to do with the book Get on TV, right? So the way I did it, my opening soundbite was, as a behind the scenes producer who has a book coming out called Get on TV, I asked myself, am I the image that I wanted to portray? And as a daily M&M popper, I wasn't going in the right direction. So what I learned was that if I rate raw cacao instead of chocolate with sugar, processed chocolate, I could stay healthy and therefore be the image that I wanted to project. So in that opening soundbite, I connected why I'm talking about the topic, what I'm actually plugging, and why the viewer's watching me as an expert. And so that the art of that is you can get that through the Guestpert Academy, through the Get on TV book, or we have the Ultimate On Camera Training Guide book. But these are big skills that make the difference between why you sell a book in a television appearance and why you won't sell a book in a television appearance. This is our format for how we write segments for speaking points. This will all be in the Guestpert Academy. I'm not going to overwhelm everybody with this, but there's a formula for how we do speaking points and we write craft segments. And remembering to define your expertise while you're the expert in terms of talking about your segment. I always say it's not in the question. Don't blame the host. It's always in the answer, always. So I never want to hear a Guestpert say to me, I didn't have enough time. They didn't ask me. Oh no. If you're doing the homework and you're doing the work, this is the work right here. You'll never miss a beat in the real estate of it. I'm not going to go into the clips here. They'll be in the Guestpert Academy for later on, but don't blame the viewer for it. We'll also in the Guestpert Academy go into what happens if they say your name of your book wrong, what happens if they say your name wrong, how do we handle those type of situations. And looking good on camera. I love Mark Zuckerberg sweating. He's sweating probably because he's lying, not just only because he doesn't have professional hair and makeup done. So making sure that you look good on camera, the difference between good hair and makeup makes a difference. And for men, we call it grooming. Because quite frankly, sometimes men don't, they got the nose hairs going, they got the hairs, the ears, and they're coming out of the ears. We don't want to see that. And we don't want to see a man sweat. And then I had one gentleman on, we talk about camera positions with your body, which become very important depending on what parts of your body that are being shown. I don't believe you're too old for TV. And here's a good example of all my fabulous older, mature people. And why are they on TV and not other people? Because they had great content. And just look how fabulous they look on camera. So, we're never too old to be famous. And I can attest to that with my clients. So we'll go into what to wear. I'm big on, bright colors, jewel tone colors, staying away from subtle prints and busy movements. But I always say what to wear. Always bring an extra outfit because this kind of looks awkward, right? Wouldn't you say? Or maybe that looks awkward too. So bring an extra outfit. Why? Because you don't want to be the third person wearing white. If you bring an extra outfit to your appearance, or you have the opportunity to change it, and it just makes you stand out because it's really about the real estate for you. So I won't go into all the rest of these details, but here is all the different places that you can find and stay in touch. We're always doing tips. Juliet just did one of our podcasts with Arya Tahara, and we have a whole entire series with folks, and experts just like Juliet talking about really niche, minute ways to be successful in the media, as Juliet offered us. So it's been a real privilege here. for having us here. That's me. It's our on-camera training courses. So please stay in touch and let me know what I can do to support you.
So Jacquie, just for a moment, you have a whole on your website, tvguestpert.com. You have courses over there. You guys, yes, you guys go take a look at these. They're very reasonably priced, but what's really important here, and I even found myself doing this on Jackie's show, is I went on too long. So you really need that. And I knew it, like I knew it in the middle of what I was saying, but I couldn't stop. This training is so important. And I've had people on my podcast as well, that just, they go on and on and on and on. And I don't get to my questions. We don't. So you really do need this training in order to understand how an interview is going to be structured and where you come into this and how to come in professionally, because you won't get asked back if you're a bad guest.
And to know the difference between a 3-minute interview, a 5-minute interview, a 20-minute interview, and as you offered me today, which was extraordinarily generous, having enough content for an hour interview. They're all different, all those content points, and then being able to deliver and knowing, those are all skills, and we cover it all like that. And the more we can teach you, the more opportunities we can create. Because as I say, I'm only as good at creating the opportunity as the client is at handling the opportunity. And the more they get better, the more opportunities come, and then it becomes momentum. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. So you guys go over to tvguestpert.com and check it out. And for those of you who have listened to this podcast, but perhaps you want to see all of the slides, all the examples that Jacquie gave, this will also be over on our YouTube channel to go through as well. So Jacquie, where can we find you besides TV Guestpert? Do you have an email for the audience that's listening and not seeing this?
Oh, yeah. Here you go. J Jordan at tvguestpert.com. You can email me. That goes right to me. And
okay.
Thank you so much, Julia.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank all of you guys for showing up. We had a glitch with the LinkedIn again, which kills me because I tested it right beforehand. So I'll have to figure out what happened. But thanks, Jacquie. Thank you, Chris, and everybody who showed up.
Thank you.